I'm Tony Val, and this is Hoosier Hometown Heroes. Today I had a chance to visit with the fellas from Dawg Services. Thanks for joining us. Hello everybody, and indeed, welcome to another edition of Hoosier Hometown Heroes. I'm glad you could join us. We are, of course, sponsored by Prometheus Consulting, the nicest guys in IT. That's new, fellas. How do you like it?
Very nice.
Today should be a very special treat as I welcome to the show Jason Cahill and Jeff McDowell from Dawg Services. Welcome, fellas.
Thank you, Tony. Thanks for having us.
Oh, it's my pleasure, and I'm excited to have you guys on. So I like to do some research on guests, before they come on the show. And the first thing that I'll tell you guys, that research on you guys was a little different than the norm. So as you would expect, I do some of the really simple things. One of those is I'll go to the website. I'm going to read the website. And my problem started there. So I have them listed here because I can't remember them all. So Dawg Services. Mm-hmm. I also found Fire Dogs Junk Removal, Moving Dogs. These are all .com, by the way. DumpsterDogs.com and DogBins.com. So, Jeff, I'm actually going to start with you. As I was going through trying to research everything you did, I came up with kind of a thesis. I decided, okay, what you guys really do at your core is you do the stuff that no one else wants to do,
Right.
So Jeff, why don't you help me? Can you help me just high level? Let's start to understand what all you guys do. It's a lot of stuff.
Right. Yeah. It started back in 2011 as just junk removal. From there, we just couldn't say no. People kept asking us to do stuff, and we would add services. So moving was a big one. People kept asking us. We'd send out guys that would move stuff out of the home. They'd ask us if we could move stuff around the home. So from there, developed into a full-service moving company, as well as labor only. And then same kind of deal with the dumpsters. People would call us, ask if we could rent dumpsters. They didn't want the guys; they could do it themselves, right? And everybody can do it themselves. So they wanted the do-it-yourself option. So to grant that, we did dumpsters, added that service, and then it made sense also, since we were transitioning into the full-service moving, to also provide the packing services, packing supplies, things of that nature. Just recently with Dawg Services, to kind of entail the full home services package, we added the pressure washing, gutter cleaning, window cleaning services. That way we can really go in and help somebody, whether it's a new property they're trying to re-beautify, or if it's an existing home that maybe they're ready to upgrade it a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So you're doing a lot of stuff, and that's interesting to me that it kind of grew just by people asking for stuff. So you thought, gee, that sounds like a good idea. Let's start doing that stuff too.
Right.
Jason, I understand that the company was started by firefighters.
It was
just kind of unique. Tell me about how the company started. How did that happen?
So in 2011, like Jeff said, my two business partners, Aaron TG and Bennett Grove, I work with them at a fire department. We're all on the same shift. We're all kind of brothers in arms, if I may. Mm-hmm. And they started Fire Dogs Junk Removal back in 2011, and just kind of something that they started doing on their off days from the firehouse, slowly, organically grew into, hey, we need help.
Yeah.
They brought this guy on, and it worked out, and it just kind of took off from there. And that's when I would say everything started growing. The following year, that's when they introduced moving. Again, they were asked to grow the moving division, so they thought, well, let's ramp that one up. And in 2013, towards the end, they approached me and said, hey, we're getting a lot of requests for dumpsters, being in central Indiana, the Midwest, a lot of do-it-yourselfer type people. And so they approached me and asked me if I would like to come on as a partner and kind of head up the dumpster division, and I graciously accepted and came online and been doing that ever since. So I guess to get back to your question, it all kind of started from the firehouse. We were all active duty military guys, got out, relocated here in central Indiana, got firefighting jobs here in Central Indiana, and here we are.
Yeah, I've noticed. I don't know a whole lot of firefighters, and nor do I. The ones that I know, I probably don't know well, but I know them. I've noticed, I think, a pattern. It seems to me that there's something about firefighters where they tend to be more entrepreneurial than the average Joe.
Sure.
Why is that?
That comes naturally, and honestly, it's because every day in the job in the fire department, who do you deal with? You deal with customers, essentially. That's the way we look at our people who call us to their house, whether it be for a medical emergency, for a car accident, for a fire. They're our customers. And so over the years, you start to interact with your customers, and it becomes second nature to you, and you just it translates into the business world so easily that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's the best way I can figure out how to describe it. Whether you're a volunteer fireman, a part-time fireman, a full-time fireman, it doesn't really matter. You deal with the same customers, the same situations, and most of the time those situations are intense. Those people are having a very bad day, and so they can tend to be difficult to deal with. And as you learn how to deal with those people through those difficult times in business, when they ask you to help them, it's that much easier to deal with them. Not deal with them, that's not the right way to put it, but to help them.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's natural for firemen to just be entrepreneurial.
You know, it occurred to me, it's funny, I was just talking with someone yesterday. We were talking about, okay, uncovering pain in the customer. You can't really get them to listen to you until they're in pain. It occurs to me that that's not a problem for you guys. The pain is clear and obvious.
Yeah, you could say that.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting.
So
Jeff, I want to dive deep actually into one of the services, and I'll fully admit that I had some very strange questions come to mind when I started thinking about Fire Dog's junk removal.
Okay.
So for some reason, the first question that jumped into my mind is: Are there things that junk removal companies won't remove, or is it all inclusive?
There are a few. Biggest things are hazardous materials. So anything that has to go to a tox drop, we can't really handle. Part of that's for DOT purposes. They don't want you transporting hazardous materials, and the other part obviously is the bigger part of disposal of where it goes to waste. So they don't want paints and other toxics getting in the landfills and creating possibly toxic water as it seeps into the ground. So
that actually dovetails into my other silly question that I can't help but ask: Where does it go when you remove junk? Where does it go?
We do our best. We strive ourselves on being eco-friendly. So we try to donate and recycle anything that we can. Unfortunately, you do have that stuff that's just trash that you can't do anything with. Your donation places won't take them because all they do is throw them away as well. So TVs are a big one now. The Indiana just passed a law, I believe it was in 2013, may have been early 2014, where those have to get recycled properly because of the gases, especially in the tube TVs. So those are big ones now that are even getting hard to donate now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Jason, I had a question for you. Again, sort of diving into one of the verticals you guys are in. That's probably one of the services. Well, it's not a service because what I want to talk about is dog bins. Sure. And something, when I was looking at everything you guys did, and in my own mind, sort of trying to piece together what's maybe a progression for how this all came about, I decided, all right, I'll bet dog bins was later in the game. So I guess specifically, let's just say what dog bins are. These are, well, you can say it better than I. Explain to us, what are the dog bins?
Sure. So to kind of piggyback off of what Jeff said when he said eco-friendly, dog bins are an eco-friendly solution to moving supplies. So traditionally when you move, Tony, you got 900,000 boxes stacked up, and the movers come and grab them, and they bring them to your new residence. You unload them, and then you're left with 900,000 boxes that you don't really know what to do with, and either you got to call somebody to come get it, you got to find some place to bring it. Those are the kind of problems you run across. So we devised a solution to say, okay, how can we fix that? So we came up with dog bins, and dog bins are, simply put, plastic reusable moving boxes. And basically they're the size of about a medium moving box. So they're not huge and they're not tiny. They're right down the middle. They're perfect. They're like I said, they're eco-friendly because you rent them from us instead of buying them. You know, a lot of people, you know, don't realize that. So a popular thing to do when you move is to go buy a bunch of Rubbermaid containers or something like that to protect your goods. And then once you're done with them, here again, you're left with 20, 30, 40, 50 Rubbermaid containers that you don't necessarily need anymore. Well, we've kind of bridged that gap in that you can rent these dog bins from us anywhere from a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, however long you need them. And when you're done with them, we'll come pick them up. Okay.
Well, that actually answers a question for me, because when I saw dog bins, it jumped out at me that this is of all you do, this is a product rather than a service. So I thought, wow, that was maybe a diversion, but since you're renting them, it's more kind of a service, really.
It is a service.
Okay,
absolutely.
So that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Did dog bins come late in the game as you've been developing your offerings?
Yeah, so dog bins came roughly a year. I would say a year after moving dogs. And again, it was something that we learned in the market. We saw the need. You know, we saw when we were done with the moves, hey, you know, got all this cardboard, and 9 times out of 10 it was, can you guys take this cardboard? Well, sure, we have a junk removal company, and the junk removal company would be able to come and remove the cardboard and of course recycle it. And so we saw an opportunity, and we thought, wow, this would be great if we could save the environment, save people money, and save them time in the process. So how we kind of work it is every move that we do, we send an estimator on to be 100% clear with exactly what we know, so we know exactly what we're getting into. And at that time, you're presented with the opportunity to, you know, hey, these are our dog bins, reusable moving boxes. You know, what do you think? And so it's really great that we've been able to get the message out there through our estimator to rent dog bins as well. So
very cool. Jeff, I want to get into how you grow your business.
Okay.
Maybe Jason wants to hear that too, what you have to say.
That's an interesting question.
But before we get into that, I want to thank our sponsor. Hoosier Hometown Heroes is sponsored by Prometheus Consulting. Prometheus's mission is to eliminate drama, complexity, and needless expense from running your computer network infrastructure. We become your expert, dedicated, outsourced IT department so you can focus on running your business. If you're ready to consider an easier, softer way to make technology work for your business, give us a call today at 317-733-2388 or find us online at prometheus.com. My guests are Jason Cahill and Jeff McDowell with Dawg Services. One of the many websites is dawgservices.com. Maybe that's a good place to start. So, Jeff, I said I wanted to talk about how you grow your business, and we're both in Rainmakers,
right?
So maybe kind of specifically, so we can help our Rainmaker friends understand who's a good contact for you. Maybe answer that question. How do you strategically, through relationships, grow your business?
Right. Very good question. This is something that I feel strongly about, and Nikki Llewellyn, the executive director of Rainmakers, I work very closely with, and she's helped me a lot grow through networking. This was a new venture getting into sales for me, so it wasn't a natural background.
Yeah.
But again, I came from a coaching background in sports, so I'm used to being around people. So big thing that I do, I tell people, you know, as you're meeting people, you always ask, you know, who's your target client? The broad spectrum that I tell people is people in real estate and construction. To narrow that down a little bit more is real estate agents, property managers, general contractors, remodelers. Those are key people for us, and it also makes our business more relationship driven. So people are really surprised when I tell them that we are a relationship company. They see junk removal moving as more transactional, which there is transactional for sure, but definitely as we build the relationships with real estate agents, remodelers, that's where we get the residual jobs, which is obviously very beneficial for both parties involved.
Yeah, I know in my own working with real estate agent, you know, we moved, it's been 4 or 5 years ago, but Kate McGill with FC Tucker, hello Kate, but she was great. I found it's interesting because it wasn't just about buying a house. It was, we were constantly, who do you know that, you know, she, of course she knows everybody. And so I can see how those would be good contacts.
Definitely.
Jason, question for you. It seems rather obvious that just in looking through your profile, and again, just your websites, you guys are very entrepreneurial. you know. I'm curious to hear, have there been some challenges as you've set about to kind of grow your business and get into all these different offerings?
Sure. To kind of go back to where you started and things that we're asked to do and decide to make a business out of them. I mean, a lot of it, we start with minimal experience. And so it's a constant learning environment in every business that we do. And as we've grown and matured over the years, certainly Jeff can attest to, we've figured out a lot of the tricks of the trade. Is that fair to say, Jeff?
That's fair.
But one of the biggest hurdles for us, if I had to put a finger on that, I would say it's probably getting your name out there. Yeah. Probably. And one of the best ways that we found to bridge that gap is social media. We've found that everybody's all over social media, sharing everything, doing all kinds of stuff. So that's how we managed to fix one of those issues. Another issue I would say would be equipment. Is that fair to say, Jeff?
Yeah.
You know, junk removal, dumpster rental. It's a big truck, big industry type thing, and you're dealing with mechanical issues quite often. And we've been fortunate over the past probably year to get a lot of that stuff buttoned up, and it's not near the problem that it was. So between those two things, those are probably some of the bigger challenges that we've faced.
Did I hear you say correctly that you guys are all military guys as well as?
Yeah, my partners and myself, we're former military. We did 4 years active duty Air Force. Got out and got civilian firefighting jobs.
How did that help you?
As you know, being in the military is a challenge.
Actually, I don't know that.
Okay, well,
I am
it is a challenge
farthest
to
thing
be in the
from
military.
a guy that's been in the military.
Dealing with the stress, dealing with the trials and tribulations of being in something new, such like the military, and so you take the military environment, which is hardcore, straightforward all the time, and then you add firefighting on top of that. And those two things together really makes you deal with the stress and deal with situations every day, so that relating that to business, when things like that come up, it's not hard to handle because we're used to handling pressurized situations.
Yeah, so you see people with real problems. You see real problems, and you understand. It gives you perspective when you hit a business problem. You say, okay, well, this isn't a real problem. This is just a tiny little.
And certainly there are those business problems where you have those moments, but then you regroup and you say, hang on, let's put this into perspective and think about it and say, how do we fix this? And between myself and my partners, Jeff, director of operations, we've got a great team, and there's not too much that we can't handle, Tony.
I like it. Great dovetail back into the websites. Just to be thorough before we go, dawgservices.com. And then I'll put these on the video and in the show notes because it's DAWG Services.
It is, and there's a reason for that.
DAWG.
The reason for that is when you enter into the United States Air Force Fire Academy, and upon graduation, you are officially designated a fire dog. That's what they call them in the United States Air Force. Firefighters are known as fire dogs. So that's the history of the name, and that's kind of where it came from.
I always thought fire dogs was this little Vienna beef stand up in up in Chicago. I've been lied to all my childhood. That's cool though. Firedogsjunkremoval.com is another website. I like how these are straightforward. Junk removal, we get it. Moving dogs, straightforward, and boy is that needed. That being asked to help people move is one of the reasons I have no friends. Dumpster dogs. So this is dumpster rental.
Yes,
correct.
Yep. And dog bins we already talked about. Again for rent. That's a cool idea. My guests have been Jason Cahill and Jeff McDowell with Dawg Services. It's been really fun to have you guys on the show. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having us, Tony. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much.